right here. Okay, all right, folks. Today we are going to be working with miter saw. What we have here is a 12-inch compound miter saw, and it is a compound miter saw, so it does a couple different functions. What this can do is this can bevel to an angle, and also this whole saw can tip left or right to an angle, creating a compound cut, so more than one angle at a time. This will also slide. We won't really need the slide function in this today, but it is useful to have when working with larger material. This will not quite cut a 6-inch board, so we do have to use the slide function just a little bit to get that full cut through the 6-inch board. And what we're going to do today is we are going to cut up the material for a couple pieces of the Kitchissippi chair we're working on. We are working on what's going to be piece D and piece H today, which are the arms and the legs for the chair. Now to do this, we have to cut our material to size. Then we have to joint a face and an edge and prep it for glue up. But today we're going to talk about the cutting portion and what's required with that. Before we get to do anything though, we're going to go over a bit of the saw safety and personal protective equipment we need in the shop. Right now we're going to go over PPE. Couple important things we need to go over are requirements for what we do in the shop here. Right now, safety glasses are mandatory whenever we're using hand tools, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take these off. Don't need these. Swap them for these, and we are safe. If you absolutely need your glasses, we can go to over glasses. That's not a problem. We have lots of those. You guys know about those. So I'm going to set these aside. And we're going to talk about a couple other things here. So a couple other things we need to address are clothing. Do we have anything loose, anything hanging that could get in the saw's way? Could you wrap up the blade or caught in rotating equipment? The answer for me is no. So, but what I'm going to do anyways is I'm going to take these sleeves and I'm going to roll them up. I prefer working with rolled up sleeves in comparison to sleeves down. It's just a habit I have. So we're going to roll these up, get these out of the way, and then we're going to talk about a couple other things here. So, jewelry. I don't have any chains, nothing like that. I do have a ring though. Ring is right here. We're going to get rid of that. I don't want that getting caught in anything. And I just stick that on my wrist strap. I set those aside. I can wear my wrist strap. It's tight enough, but I choose not to. I do wear my watch though, as long as it's tight fitting and it's not hanging, that is going to be acceptable. Some of you may have watches you don't want to get dirty, dusty, or damaged. So I encourage you guys to take them off. I'm choosing to wear mine. And if something happens to it, then so be it. All right, with this is a loud tool also. So we need a bit of ear protection. So earplugs or ear muffs are available just outside the shop. You guys have seen those, you know where they are based on your scavenger hunt. For today's lesson, I will not wear any. I'm just doing a few cuts, but I'm going to be talking way more than anything else. So that is what I'm going to do here. So we got a saw behind us. I've got a nice clean working surface. I've got clean space here and clean space back here where I can place my full-length boards. Now, yesterday we talked about stock selection, what to look for when selecting decent pieces of wood to work with. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've selected a few pieces of wood. I'm going to point out a couple of things on them and show you guys how we can incorporate some things like knots into our pieces, but still cut around them so we don't have them interfere with our structural strength. And I'll explain that a little bit more once I get a few pieces cut. But today we're going to work on cutting a few pieces. And the pieces we're going to cut are these pieces right here. So these are our templates for the Kitchissippi chair. We have templates of all the pieces we're working on. This is the armrest, and this is armrest H. As you can see, it's clearly stated right there, armrest H. And we've got other information on here as well. I'll explain that in another video when we get there. So we got armrest H. I need 2 of these for the chair. But this I cannot create out of 1 piece of wood. It is simply too wide. So I need 2 pieces of wood to create this piece. Same with seat leg D. I need 2 of these, and I cannot create these from a single piece of wood. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut 2 pieces of 1 by 6 for each seat leg. So I'm going to need 4 pieces of 1 by 6. And then for the armrest, I'm going to need a piece of 1 by 6 and a piece of 1 by 4. If I was to use 1 by 6 for both pieces, I'd be wasting extra material, and I don't need that. A 1 by 4 is much cheaper than a 1 by 6. So if I can save a little bit of money by selecting a smaller material that still fits everything I need, I'm going to do that. And that's good practice in general. We don't like wasting money. So I'm going to set these aside, and we're going to talk about what we need to do. I'm not setting these aside. What I need to do is we need to measure these pieces. We need to know how long a board we're going to cut. What we're going to do is just measure from here to here, and then we're going to give ourselves a couple extra inches just to make sure that if there's a knot on our wood, we can slide this, maybe try and move it around that knot. Also, it just gives us a little more margin for error. We don't want 6 extra inches or 8 or 10. That's getting to be wasteful, but 2 extra inches isn't going to be detrimental to our overall amount of wood we have. So let's measure this nice and quick. So looking at it here, hard to see, but it looks like it's 31 inches overall. What we're going to do is we're going to add 2 inches. We're going to make this 33 inches overall. So seat leg D is 33 inches, which is great. It's nice, convenient to work with. But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys a little technique that I use. It's called a stop block, and I use this for setting up cuts I'm going to make again and again, or I'm going to make multiple cuts of, or I need lots of these pieces. A great example of it is going to be the seat slats. We need a dozen per chair. Now, it's going to take you a little bit of time to measure each one out, mark your cut, and then cut it. If we're going for production or efficiency, what I like to do is I like to set up things like a stop block where I measure, I set the stop block, I cut my first piece, then I measure, I confirm that it's the length I want, and then once it is, I can continue using that stop block to cut more pieces without measuring. And we'll go over that right now. So to set up the stop block, we need a few things. We need a tape measure, we need a square, piece of wood, preferably square, a scrap will do, it's just fine, and a clamp, and obviously miter saw, a work surface. So I'm going to grab those real quick, and I got them right here. So just a little tri-square, that's all we need. Combination square will work fine too. Framing square might be a little bit big for this table, but I mean, if that's what we have, that's what we have. Just a little block of wood, we're going to clamp this piece down. That's going to be our stop block itself. And a clamp that will cover this distance here. So we mentioned 31 inches was the length of piece D. We're going to add 2 inches, so we got 33 inches overall. What I'm going to do is measure from the side of the blade, blade's in the locked and down position, out 33 inches on the table, and we are going to set our block there. We're going to make sure our block is square, and we're going to clamp it in place. We're going to do that right now. So tape measure. So I've got this here, and what I do is I will take my square, I'll put it on the table, slide it to 33 inches. And I've got 33 inches right here. So what I'm going to do is place this along the line at 33 inches. Make sure it's nice and square, which it should be. We're going to take our clamp, and we're going to clamp this in place. We're going to try not to bump it. If we do, we can always adjust it back. Oh, I've got that clamped. Still 33 inches, which is great. We're going to tighten it up. And that has set my stop block at 33 inches. So we should be done with this guy, so we're gonna set it aside. We're just gonna hold on to this because we're gonna double check our wood in just a moment to make sure it is the correct measurement. So I've set my distance from the edge of the blade to the stop block. That's great. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna raise the saw. The saw's got a lock right here on the side. It's a little red button. So you gotta push it down a little bit, pull the lock out, and then the saw will lift up. That's just a safety feature, and also keeps it a little more compact if you're moving or transporting the saw. So that's nice. I'm gonna grab my material. I've got some material set aside here, and it's stuff that I've already gone over. I've checked. It does have some staples in the end, but I'm not gonna be cutting the ends off. So I'm gonna leave those there, and we're gonna make some cuts. So we're gonna start with piece D, and I need 2 pieces of 1x6 for each piece. Or for each leg, and I need 2 legs per chair. So I'm going to cut 4 pieces of material. We're going to cut our first one, then we're going to check our measurements, make sure it's the measurement we want. It can be a little over, a little under 33. Just remember, 31 was the crucial measurement we need. So a little bit more, a little bit less, not too big of a deal as long as it's fairly close to 33. If it's less than 31, then we're going to have to repurpose that piece for another thing. We'll set it aside. But that's why I add the extra, so I don't run into a situation where I've got too little material. So I'm gonna grab that board and we're gonna cut our first piece. So I've got my board here, I've already looked at it, fairly flat, fairly square, not a whole lot of knots in it. There are small knots, but they're all tight. They're not loose, they're not gonna eject out of the piece of wood when we're cutting it, so it is fine to use. A couple things I want to show you guys or just make you guys aware of when we are operating the saw. It's hands directly in front of us. We're never going to cross our hands because what could happen is normally I would hold my left hand here away from the blade at least 4 inches. I've got lots of space here. I've probably got 10 inches away from the blade. And I'm going to cut with my right hand, bring it down, make that cut, everything would be gravy. If you decide to cross your arms and say you're left-handed or you want to cut with your left hand and you don't feel like switching this all around, so you figure, I'm just gonna, make a quick cut, not a big deal. Well, it could be a big deal because if you're standing in front of the saw, you put this hand here, you're holding it, you got this hand up here, that puts your arm in the direct path of the blade. My sleeve's kind of in the way there, but you guys can kind of get the picture, right? If you're holding it that way, especially if you're using the slide function, that's gonna just create mayhem and chaos for you, and it's not gonna be very pretty. So we don't cross our hands when using the saw, ever. Left hand stays on the left-hand side of the blade. If you're cutting with your right hand's gonna be on here, and that's how that's gonna work. So we talked about that, addressed a bit of safety. I've got this butted up against the stop block right here. It's nice and tight, nice and square to the back fence. Saw is set to 0 degrees. I've got 0 angle on it. We're ready to make a cut. What I'm gonna do is depress this thumb safety here with my thumb, and we're gonna squeeze the trigger. We're gonna let the saw come up to speed. It's gonna take about a second to do so. I'll make the cut, then I will let go of the trigger. I'm not going to let go of the handle, just the trigger. I want that blade to stop and then down position inside of this plastic guard here on the bottom. And the reason for that is if I cut, still have that blade spinning, or I let go of it and start to bring it up while it's spinning, the teeth of the blade right here could catch the edge of the wood we just cut and then fling the piece we just cut, say, back against the backstop, or it could go anywhere. It's going to result in a bit of damage to your wood, maybe some scary noise, potential injury. So we want to avoid that. And yeah, we're going to make that cut now. We've addressed those few things. So we're going to hand nice away here. Stop it in that down position, and then I lift it up afterwards. So we got a nice clean cut there, no issues. We're going to measure that board for overall length to see how it turned out. Right there on the 33 mark, so that's golden. What we're going to do is we're going to cut 3 more of those. We're going to need 4 of them for the leg pieces, so we are going to cut a few more. That's 2. And what you guys will notice, this piece, too short cut. This is 30 inches now. So an 8-foot 1x6 give me 96 inches, maybe 96 and a half. Sometimes I give it a little extra. I just cut 2 at 33. That's 66, which some simple math puts this at 30 inches. We're going to set this one aside. We're going to use this in just a moment. I'll show you what we're going to use it for. So I need to grab another board. I need to cut 2 more of those pieces. I'm going to do that right now. So that's piece 3. 4. One thing I want you guys to be aware of is when you're doing this, don't slide the board down and bang into that stop block you just set up. That's going to move. And if it moves, our cut isn't going to be the 33 inches we want. All right, so I've got this piece here. Talking about, slamming stuff in the stop block, how you move. I'm done with the stop block now, so I can do that. But just giving it that little bit of a whack there, let's see how much it moved by measuring off the blade. So safety's on there, we're not touching it. Just about 33 and a half inches. So that one sliding of the board moved that piece almost half an inch, about 7/16 of an inch. You do that 2 or 3 times, your board is an inch plus longer than you want it. So that's not a good thing, especially if you want everything uniform and the same size. So if you are using a stop block, just make sure that you don't bump it too hard. And if you are doing a whole bunch of material and you want that stop block to not move at all, sometimes what you can do is, I don't do it on this table, but if you've got a bigger wooden table, I screw that stop block exactly where I want it. 2 nice screws, keep it in place. We don't need the clamp, and that isn't going to move. Then you just remove the screws and you remove your stop block. But we don't really do that here. I just like to clamp this down. So we don't need this anymore. We're going to pop that out of the way. Okay, so we have 2 pieces. This one and this one here that are now 30 inches. Cool thing is that this piece H, just about 30 inches. In fact, you can see, I'll set it on there. I got an inch plus there, and an inch plus there. So that works out really well for material usage. I now have already cut the 2 pieces I need, the 2 1x6 pieces I need for the H armrest. Now for the H armrest, I need 2 more pieces of 1x4. So I'm going to set these 1x6s aside, and I'm going to cut 2 of the 1x4 pieces at 30 inches. Now, I'm not going to use a stop block for that because it's only 2 cuts. So I'm going to show you guys a little trick I use when cutting material, and it's going to help you guys to be more accurate, because accuracy is very important, especially when you get into cabinet making and finishing. Certain things like this, we can kind of get away with a little bit of defects here and there that get hidden, but some things, if they're not cut accurately, they're going to show up, and they're going to be very obvious, and we don't want that. We don't want obvious things that can be picked out on our project. I'm going to set these aside, set them with this here. And I've got this 1x4. You can see right here, right in the middle of that chunk of wood, great big old knot. That is a little bigger than I'd like to be in the middle of my wood, so I'm gonna actually flip this and cut from the other end. So this end here, it does have a little knot right on the edge, but that won't be included in our final product. We're actually gonna cut that out of there. So we're gonna work from this edge, cut back in, and we're gonna cut 2 pieces at 30 inches. So I'm gonna show you guys a little layout tip that I use. I got my tape measure here, a good sharp pencil. I always keep a few pencils. I always keep them fairly sharp because thin lines are accurate lines. If you've got a big rounded over pencil and it's giving you a wide line, you lose a degree or so of accuracy. It's kind of like a sharp crayon versus an old blunt crayon. You want to be able to make those nice, clean, crisp lines, and a big blunt crayon isn't going to allow you to do that. We're going to grab the square again. We're going to use that to mark our lines out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure from the edge. In 30 inches, I'm going to make a small pencil mark. So pencil mark's going to be right here. I don't make a big one. I just make one that kind of shows me where I need to put my line. Then what I do is I take my square, make sure it's up tight against the base, and I draw my line out. You'll see a lot of people, as like in construction, as they get really good with these saws and really familiar, they won't draw that line out. They'll just make a mark and cut that line. That's a comfortable, or that's the thing they do because they're quite comfortable with the saws. They've done it for years. They know the saws. In here, we're going to mark our lines out, and I'm going to show you guys. Well, it's kind of important for the next little tip I'm going to show you. So I've got my line right here. Hopefully you all can see it. We'll get it in a little closer. This edge, this side here, is the side I want to keep. 30 inches. This is my line here. And if I was to cut directly on that line, what I would do is I would remove 1/16 material from the piece I want to keep. That's because the saw blade has the curve. The curve is the width of the blade and how much material it removes. So basically what happens is every time we cut the curve, we lose a 1/8 material because that saw turns into sawdust there. It doesn't just, magically separate it into 2 pieces with no loss of material. Unfortunately, when we cut it, we lose 1/8 material. So we have to be aware of where we cut this material. If I cut it right on the line, this is going to be 1/16 of an inch short. If I cut it on this side of the line, it's going to be 1/8 of an inch short. If I cut it on this side of the line, it's going to be the exact size I want. So what I always do is when I mark a piece out, I just place an X on the side that is the scrap side. I'm not saying it's a scrap material. This is just telling you that it's safe to cut on the side because I don't have any crucial measurements marked out on here yet. I only mark out one at a time when I'm doing this, unless I'm gang cutting or like stack cutting. I'll mark out one, then I'll stack 4 boards on top of each other and use that as a template and cut multiple ones. But right now, we're just going to make this first cut. We're going to cut on the scrap side or the offcut side of the line, and that will give us our full 30 inches here. So let's do that now. So you can drop the blade to line it up. Make sure the blade is right on the edge of the line. If you're having a hard time seeing it, sometimes what we can do is we can lift this just a bit, get low, look, and I'm pretty good there. So what I'm going to do is hold this firmly against here, hand at least 4 inches away from the blade, and I'm going to repeat the cutting process. So let's do that now. Once again, I've stopped that blade at the bottom before lifting the material. And you can see there, just a little bit, maybe you can't see it, I don't know, a little bit of that pencil edge. That's exactly what I want. This is going to be 30 inches. So we're going to cut another one. Now what you can do is you can use this as a template if you're only cutting 1 or 2. If you're cutting multiple ones, you can use this as a pattern piece, but you got to write pattern on it. That way you don't mix it up and accidentally cut a longer piece every single time, and that can happen. I've done it before. That's a mistake I've made. But I'm not going to use this as a pattern. I'm going to set this aside, mark out another one, and then we'll make that cut. Square it up and we'll draw the line. Put my X on there so I know what my offcut side is. Tools are out of the way, nothing's going to interfere here. And let's cut this piece. Sort of like it. All right, so we got 2 pieces at 30 inches. What I like to do is we cut 8 pieces today. So we cut 4 for the seat legs and 4 for the armrests. Now we got a lot of the same or similar pieces anyways. What I like to do is write on all my pieces so they can be identified at a later date. Where we store our wood when we do this project, other people store their wood nearby, and a lot of us are in similar stages when it comes to cutting. So it could get mixed up. So if we're going to group it when we do these chairs, normally we would be in class. I would encourage everyone to put their group name on every single piece they cut. And after they prep their pieces, if they've cut that name off with, say, a planer or a jointer, write it back on. I usually write it on the edge. We don't cut that too often, so that we'll keep it there. So let's say your group is the, I don't know, purple unicorns, right? Purple unicorns on everything. That's going to be great. That way, someone grabs it, you look at their piece and it says purple unicorns on it. You be like, oh, hey, by the way, I accidentally grabbed my piece. Get it back. It's all good, and we carry on. Another thing I like to do is, since we're made pieces for multiple parts to this chair today, we're going to write on our pieces and identify what they are. So right here, these are my 4 pieces for my chair arm. Nice thing is, when we look at this, right there, armrest H. I don't even write armrest on here. I just write H. All the pieces are labeled alphabetically, A through whatever it might be, maybe Z. So I just write the letter on there on each one. And that just helps me keep organized so I know what I've cut, what I have yet to cut. And we'll do that right now. So I just write it right on the face, a big H. And that's good. So I know this is my armrest pieces. So I can set those aside. My armrest. And then here, I've got the seat leg pieces. 4 of these, all piece D. So we'll just write D on them. That way, when you are working with them, you know exactly what is what. When we're working in groups, what we should try and do is organize ourselves so we have people always doing something. There's enough parts and pieces on this chair that I could have somebody cutting seat slats. I could have someone cutting the back slat. I could have someone prepping these for gluing or cutting them on the bandsaw. So I like to organize my group so everyone's moving all the time, and it's just more efficient time-wise, and then we get to complete this project on time with no rush, no crunch at the end. And if we finish them early enough, we can stain them, paint them, whatever we like to our liking. That's the ultimate goal, is to get these to a complete finished state in the given class time. If we are not working together and we're kind of working against each other, this would be a difficult project to complete on the timeline given. But one of the things I like to assess and I like to see are group work skills, how you guys organize yourselves, how you work together, how you problem solve and overcome little issues. Those are all things I look for and I assess when we're in class. So having good organizational skills is paramount when it comes to creating projects like this. We're going to have, with the seat slats, when we cut them all, we are probably going to have close to 40 pieces for this chair. So organization is key, and it takes a long time to get those pieces cut. But if we have everybody moving, everyone on a task and working on that task, then many hands will make a light work. And all of a sudden you'll have your 40 pieces, you'll build your chair, and you'll have an awesome end product. So that is going to be the lesson for today. What I'm going to do is tomorrow we're going to take these pieces and we are going to run them through the jointer. We're going to joint a face and an edge, and we're going to prep these for glue up. And I'm going to set up a gluing station on a table. We're going to show you guys how that's done, how to avoid having these things glue improperly, how much glue to use, what type of glue to use. I've made a ton of errors in the past gluing stuff up, and I want you guys to learn from my mistakes. If I can save you guys some time by showing you what to avoid and how to avoid making some critical mistakes, that's awesome. I learn by failing. That's just how I operate. I learn from my failures, and then what I like to do is I like to pass on what I've learned and how I've failed so people can avoid that. So yeah, we're going to glue those up tomorrow, and we'll have a nice little lesson for that. And then the following days, we'll do some pattern tracing, some bandsaw. We'll talk about the other information we can see on these drawings, because there is a bunch of information on these. So we will go over all of the stuff, what the holes are, what this funny little symbol here is, things like that. There's details on the end that I need to show you guys. And yeah, so that will be ongoing every day. We're just going to build another piece, work on it, do another step. I'm just going to turn this to a nice kind of little mini series for building. Please drop your names in the chat so I know that you're here. Also, there is going to be a quiz on what we've spoken about today. So that is already up and waiting for you in your D2L. So that'll be in the solid stock construction unit. You get into that unit, you click on your content, then your resources, you'll see your tabs on the left side of your screen. There's a tab called online classes, click on that one. You'll see December 1st, and we'll have yesterday's quiz and yesterday's video up. And then today you'll see December 2nd, and it will have a video from the first class up. I'm going to remove that video and replace it with this one. I like the way this one has gone better. But if you are stuck on that quiz, the quiz is there too beside the video. If you're stuck on that quiz, once I get this video here uploaded, we can use that to assist us with the quiz. It should not be too difficult. If you guys could complete that for me, that would be fantastic. And that is it for today. If you guys have questions, pop them in an email, send them to me. I'll get to them right away. Thank you much for joining me. I appreciate it. And I'm hoping I can have a bunch of chair packages ready for you when we come back and we can disassemble some chairs. That's kind of the goal I'm working towards. Hey, thank you guys. Have a great day and good luck with the rest of your classes. And I will talk to you tomorrow.